JavaScript is huge, right? Any browser can run JavaScript. Any browser worth its salt can run JavaScript. It takes no, right. Alrighty. All right, takes no special software, no special programs to create a Java app. All you need is Notepad and a browser. So for most web pages, there are 3 parts to a web page. There's the HTML, which is the content, the text and the images that you see on a web page. There's a CSS, the cascading style sheets. That's how it looks, the colors, the fonts, spacings, borders. And then there's JavaScript. JavaScript is where you want to accomplish something, you use JavaScript. It's the doer. All right. Some of the things you can do with JavaScript. You can write a game in JavaScript. So here's an example of Pac-Man. All right, like I told you before, here's the HTML for Pac-Man. Here's the CSS for some colors and such. And then right here is the code for Pac-Man, for this little game right here. I don't know if you can hear it, but this is JavaScript. All right. JavaScript's really used for interacting with the user, for being able to get more information, elicit more information from the user, to say, tell the user that you're not providing enough information. So like when you're creating a password and you want to make sure that they include the capital letter and a lowercase letter and a special character and a number, you would use JavaScript to look at the password as they're typing it and be able to tell them, hey, we're still waiting for that letter, capital letter, we're still waiting for that number. But also, I've got an example here of some JavaScript components using Bootstrap that lets you create these, the carousel, the sliding text from one image to another image. Now, in this case, instead of images, it's just going to be this, but this is accomplished through JavaScript. There's the showing and hiding parts of a web page. Modals. There's a modal is a pop-up that comes up, and it can be used to display more information, like this one telling you who you read a text in a modal, but you can also create a form. You know, this could be where you type in some additional, you know, a form asking for an email. You want to send an email over the web. This little pop-up can come up and it can say, who do you want to send it to? Who do you want to carbon copy to? What do you want to say in your text? And then hit send, and then it goes away and you're back to your web application. Nav bars. Let's see. Here's a nav bar with a drop down, but also you've seen this a lot of times. As you squish down a nav bar, it turns into the hamburger menu. And this here is JavaScript to show the menu as necessary. Show, hide, and expand, and it comes back to a regular menu. Let's see. Yeah, I already mentioned data validation, like on a password, but Yeah, the password right there. You can package up information. Like once you've said your username and password, JavaScript is used to send your username and password over to, let's say, your bank. And the bank takes that information, looks it up, compares your username and password, makes sure you're legit. And then once you are, it'll get your banking information, send it back, and then your web application will take that data and create the UI for it and spit it out for the user in a nice looking application. So a web application is like what a business application is. It's something that accomplishes or does an application. I'm sorry. I guess I was expecting this to be more interactive. So front-end application is your client. It's your browser, what you're seeing on your PC. All right, so as you're typing in your information, it's on your browser. When you hit send, it takes that information from your browser and sends it to a server. And that server is a request from the client, your browser. It'll normally hit a database, get the result back from the database, package it, and send it back to the client. So on the front end, JavaScript is used. On the back end, where it's capturing that data, it's usually some C# or Java or Python. It's usually some high-level language. It's hitting a database, which uses for the most part SQL to get the data and send it back, or get the data, send it back to the application, and then the application takes that and sends it back to the client. However, it's possible to do everything with JavaScript now. The JavaScript can handle everything from the client side, from the client to the server and the database. Everything can be done with JavaScript. So it really is one language can do all. That doesn't mean you would want to write a full-fledged banking application using JavaScript as an entire solution. It's usually left for the smaller applications. But overall, in the end, yes, JavaScript can do anything and everything. All right, so with that, I'm looking for questions. I guess with that, let's look at JavaScript. All right, I'm going to go to this. I guess I jumped the gun here. Let me close this. This is just an empty page that I'm using on Chrome. All right, and I hit the F12 key, and that brings up the developer debug tools. And there I can type in some JavaScript. Now JavaScript could be as easy as 3 plus 4 or 5, 8. All right. I could say create a little function or create a variable called let x equal 5, let y equal 3, and then I'm going to do an alert, x plus y, and run it. Just hitting enter runs it. So this is an alert that comes built into most every browser. It's that annoying thing when there's an error, you have to hit OK. But But in the end, it's good for doing a quick little demo like this, or I could even do the up arrow and do a console.log and then spit the answer out right here. Let's see. Yeah, we'll look at that. All right, so tools. Where would you go to learn to do JavaScript? You could do JSBin, it's what I had there, jsbin.com. And here's a quick little HTML application. Here's some JavaScript and the output. So here I could say console.log. Oh, I guess that would be right here. Console.log hello. And there's the output. I'm sorry, let me just close that. I really wanted to get glitch going, but something's wrong with it. It's misbehaving. So I can't get glitch going. Glitch is a website we use quite extensively in the Hello Code and Hello Code 2 class, where we build our applications right there and it's visible for everybody to see. I mean, when I say everybody, I mean you can show your families, your friends. Hey, look at this little website I did on my on the web. So since we don't seem to have that here, I'm just going to close it. And let's talk about, let's look at more JavaScript. All right, so JavaScript it comes built into the browser. All right, so here's a application. Let me get this running so we can see it as we go. All right, pull that out. Put that back. All right. So for JavaScript, it's adding a script tag with a closing script tag. Boy, I don't know the level of, I don't know if you guys know HTML or not, but this is HTML. We've got a header up here, our title, Hello World 1. You see that's right here in our browser tab, Hello World 1. And there's no content yet. So if I say H1 Hello World and hit save, you can see it appears right there now. Now, if in my script tag here, I want to do what shall I do? Let's create a little button that type equals button, and we'll have it say hi. Say hi. So we're going to create an onClick equals say hi function. All right, so if I save it, you'll see a gray little button. That's a button. And I'm going to make it so when we click on it, it's going to call this JavaScript function called say hi, which doesn't exist yet. So here in the script, I'm going to define a function. I'm going to say function say hi. All right, notice how JavaScript is case sensitive. So this say hi is different than this say hi. So what I normally do is copy, paste. And now I'm going to do an alert. Hi. Save it. And then when I click, you can see there's that annoying little pop-up that says hi. And that is JavaScript. That is communicating between getting a command from a browser button to a JavaScript function, and a JavaScript giving you back some feedback. Let's put that someplace else now. Instead of that annoying little alert, let's create a div and ID equals output. And so now, instead of doing the alert, I'm going to use some built-in JavaScript objects to do what I want to do. I want to go to a document dot get element by ID, and my ID is output. Dot ID, it's a function. I called my ID output, and I'm going to change the inner HTML equal to hello. And I'm going to save it. And now I'm going to run it. And now when I say click the button, it outputs hello to that div element that I specified. I created here and told it where to go here. And this is a text I sent to it. So some of the advantages of JavaScript. First off, JavaScript is not Java. Java and JavaScript different. However, for the most part, the syntax between JavaScript and Java are the same. So a function, or the syntax is pretty much mostly the same. You won't have the word function in there, but you would have say hi. Your if statements, your conditions, your loops, your logic, ands, and ors, they're the same in Java, they're the same in C#. And so some of the advantages of JavaScript is it's a great language to learn to program because it's very forgiving. All right, there's lots of things it will do for you, make assumptions and work. All right, that's not always the best thing because sometimes it makes the wrong assumptions, but for the most part, it's not that big of a deal. JavaScript is just a fun language. You're able to create user interfaces that can be mind-blowing. Let's see. If you go back to Bootstrap, Bootstrap is Bootstrap is a front-end framework that's designed for non-artsy people like me. I can't make a site look good. I usually go to Bootstrap to help with my user interface. And when I say that, I mean like all these like this functionality, these looks. I'm going to go to a different site. W3 Schools. W3 Schools, they do Bootstrap, and they just make it a little easier to see what's going on. They give you the try it yourself. And so just running this creates a card that looks like that. But what's great about Bootstrap is it uses JavaScript a lot. The carousel. This is what I was showing you before. It could be timed. You know, if you wait long enough, it'll go on to the next one. And as a developer, in some instances, you're able to change that amount of time. Here's a modal. They give you the option to change how something comes in, how something goes out, adding fade to the modal container. So we take that out. I guess that's not. I gotta hit run. Now it just pops in instead of fades in. But this functionality exists because of JavaScript. Let's see, forms. Oops, where'd it go? I'm trying to see, they probably don't do any validation, but that's okay. Spinners. When you're going to go get data, you want to turn a spinner on that says, hey, you're busy. You turn the spinner on. And then once the data comes back, you stop the spinner, make the spinner go away, and then there's no more spinner. Let's look. Boom, boom. So what we're looking at here is just some of the code samples that come from the Hello Code 2 class, where we baby step the process of learning JavaScript, sending variables to a function. Say hello world, and we want to say the hello world here. And so the hello world gets sent as a value from here to this function. Captured here is greeting. And so we use the alert greeting, which contains hello world. So we see hello world appear in our alert. Let's see. So tools for writing in JavaScript. Like I said, you can use Notepad. Notepad is freely available on Windows PCs. I know there's a text editor on Macs, and I'm not sure about Chromebooks, but there's always at least some sort of text editor that can be used to create text files, JavaScript files, HTML files, CSS files. Those are all text-based. And And this one right here, I use Visual Studio Code, Microsoft Visual Studio Code. It might look scary here. I guess if I were to create a new window, you know, it's not all that bad, but I got a lot of code here already. I can hide that, make it less scary. I guess, I'm sorry. I guess I expected this to be more interactive. Are there any questions so far in the chat? All right, I'm gonna keep going along. All right, where can you learn JavaScript? Hello Code 2 has, or I'm sorry, DoSpace has some intro classes. After Hello Code, where you learn HTML and CSS, they have Hello Code 2, where you learn the basics of JavaScript programming. There's also some free resources online. This is just a small sample of what's out there. There's the Khan Academy, there's the W3 Schools, which we looked at previously, but we looked at that through for Bootstrap just to see what kind of interfaces can be created with JavaScript and HTML and CSS. But there's also JavaScript itself. There's a JavaScript tutorial in there where you click on me display date and time, and it displays the date and time right there. What's great about W3 Schools is the ability to click on the try it yourself and see how this works. You know, here's your HTML, my first JavaScript attempt. You hit run and we can see that I've made a change. And so when we click, we're going to display on demo in our HTML the date. All right. So if we go back to here and we type in date, we can see we got the date. What else can we do? This is the developer tool where you can write out some simple JavaScript statements and try some things out. You can even do some small little functions here, but I really wouldn't recommend it. I would go someplace like JSBin to create a function that says function get time, and then console.log due date, and then I'm going to clear and I'm going to run. Then we see nothing's happening. That's because all this is just a function. We have to actually call the function for it to do what we want it to do, which is to get the time. So here we just say get time, and now we run it and we saw we got this object. Let's take that out, run it again, and then we get our date. We go back to our JavaScript tutorials. We can see there's quite a bit, but some of this is going to be repetitive. Some of it gets to be, the more you do it, the more the more familiar you become with it. Just like anything, more time you do something, the more repetitive it gets, the easier it gets. Repetition is the mother of learning. Just got to keep doing it. Exercise, let's see. Oh, so where do you put JavaScript? So JavaScript is transportable. Let's see if I go back to here. JavaScript is transportable. All right, so here I put my JavaScript inside my page. So here it's not transportable. But down here you can see, let's just close this. Let's go to here, these JS files. These are JavaScript files. So this is a JavaScript file that I can call from any application that I might want to use the functionality that's found in this weather file, this JavaScript file. This particular JavaScript file goes and gets weather data from weather.gov. So if we copy this and we go to a browser and we paste it in, we're going to see the weather for the next 7 days. All right, this up here is just defining where the data is coming from, or the region it's covering. When this forecast was generated, and then we get into our periods. We get into tonight. So tonight it's going to be clear, low around 59 temperatures. Wednesday, tomorrow, it's going to be sunny with a high. All right, who wants to look at that? All right, this is kind of how your bank data comes back. It comes back looking like this. What am I going to do with that? So fortunately, with JavaScript, we can take that data that looks like this, and we can play around with it. With the JavaScript, we can add some context, some UI stuff to it. So we can see that now we're going to display the weather data when it was generated. Or is that today? I have to look at the code. But here is the weather for the next, several days. Tonight, Wednesday night, Thursday. We're displaying the temperature, we're displaying the wind, and any subsequent details. So slight chance of thunderstorms. All right, and all this came from that data there. Now this is pretty basic. We can add even more functionality to it. This is where I took the Bootstrap stuff and added more functionality to this. So I made it bigger. I made it so we can see it in cards, or we can see the weather in a list format. So we can see more days going down, and we have the ability to click on a day or on a period and get even more information. So here's weather detail for tonight. So over here we can see there's a tonight. We can see that the short forecast is it's clear, but we clicked on it to get the detailed forecast, which is clear, low around 59. And we were able to add some more functionality. Now let's say I'm from another country and Fahrenheit doesn't mean anything to me. I added in there the ability to go in and take those temperatures and convert them to Celsius. Going between Fahrenheit and Celsius. All right, that's just a matter of looking at the temperature, seeing it's 59, temperature unit, Fahrenheit, and then running it through this weather code. Actually, I think in this case, I call it a temp helper. So here's where I do a convert temp. If it comes in as Fahrenheit, whatever, Fahrenheit, the type would be Fahrenheit or Celsius, and the temp would be the value. So if it's Celsius, if I want to convert the number to Celsius, I send it to this to Celsius function where I do this math on it, the formula for converting from Fahrenheit to Celsius. And then vice versa, here's 2 Fahrenheit, which is converting a Celsius temperature to Fahrenheit. And by running it through those functions, we can go back and forth on our data. And here too, we can click on see details and we can see that Thursday nights looks like it's going to be maybe exciting, what, 20% chance? Thursday night looks better for storms. And some of the things about JavaScript is it's structured. This right here is our function to go get our weather. And so here we get this data here. When it's done, we send it through this function here that goes and gets the UI, or it goes and generates the UI for it. So I generate both versions of the UI, the list format and the card format at the same time, which is why I just flips back and forth fairly quickly. And you can see I added a quick little fade in, fade out animation when switching between the two. So that was W3 Schools for Learning. Yeah, there's lots of places. There's also paid online courses. Now, lynda.com is free if you have a Omaha Public Library membership. If you got the Omaha Public Library and you've got your code on it, your card, you know, what do I say, the Omaha Public Library card. You just go to the Omaha Public Library, you get a 4-digit PIN assigned to your card, and then you go to lynda.com and you say you want to sign on through as a Omaha Public Library. You put in your number and your PIN, and then you've got a whole plethora of classes, and you just go in there and you type in JavaScript. Otherwise, it's Udemy. YouTube. You go to YouTube and you say JavaScript, and you'll get lots of resources there. But for the most part, JavaScript is quite a powerful language for being able to. Well, I got a question. How long would it take to become proficient in JavaScript? Great question, and it's just a matter of the more you do it. I don't know. It's one of those questions where sometimes I'll be doing something, I'll admit I'm the biggest dummy in the room. I will do something 20 times and still have to look up how to do it the 21st time. But by the 25th time, I'm getting it. So So really, there are some people that sit down, they can just naturally remember everything and they're awesome. And then there's people like me. It takes quite a bit of do it again and again and again. I think that's really the secret, is just sticking with it. And it could take maybe a month, 2 months. Also, some of the challenges to answering the question of how long does it take to become proficient is, what type of programmer do you want to be? You know, do you want to be the game developer? Do you want to be the business developer, the business application developer, that is? And I think when it comes down to it, there's a huge demand for people that know how to write JavaScript and writing business applications. And that could take a couple of months. And it takes a couple of months of sticking with it. You'll get frustrated. Let's see. So, I mean, I get angry at the computer because it should know what I mean. And sure enough, of course, in the end, the computer's always right. And there's something that I was doing wrong. But there are days where I think I can just hang up my hat and you just gotta stick with it. It'll make you angry, but also make you feel great. Like, look what you've done, look how you've helped other people, look what you've managed to do for your boss and the company, and make people, happy, and say, hey, this guy did this, or this person did this. It's a wonderful, wonderful feeling. And really that's the way it is most of the time. And with that, there's also different aspects of JavaScript. What we've been talking about here is what's called, plain vanilla JavaScript. And that's the core of it. However, there's also, let's see, there's also more. There's also jQuery. All right, jQuery is like a crutch for JavaScript developers. You saw back here where I did the, where did I do that? The document.getElement by ID and whatnot. jQuery makes that from this long to this long. And then it gets to a point where, no, you're not even using jQuery anymore. Now you get into advanced web application frameworks like Vue.js and Angular, and they don't even touch jQuery anymore. And that takes time to learn. And what I usually do is I'll go and look and see, what are corporations using? There are some that are using Vue.js. There's quite a few that are using Angular. There's some that are using Angular.js, which is the old Angular. There's some that are using React. These are frameworks for developing web applications for businesses, getting your bank data. Your bank isn't going to be using straight out of the box plain vanilla JavaScript like I'm showing you here. They're going to be using something like React or Vue.js or Angular. And that's really get to know JavaScript first, then get to looking at, decide if you want to become an Angular developer or a Vue.js developer. And yes, it's possible to be all three, React, Vue, and Angular. But, I guess, focus on one. And then there's TypeScript. All right, what is TypeScript? All right, remember when I told you that JavaScript was a very forgiving language? Here I can say, let x equal Dwayne, and console log x, and I'm going to run it, and I'm going to get rid of this. All right, and we can see that it spit out Dwayne. Right now I'm going to say x is equal to 3.14. And I'm going to spit that out. When I say spit it out, I mean put it on the console. So I'm going to clear and run. And we can say I'm using the same X variable as Dwayne. And then the next line, I'm changing that value from a string, Dwayne, surrounded by quotes, it's a string, and turning it into a number. Other programming languages won't let you do that. Your Java, your C#, your C++, your C, your ActionScript, it's going to say, wait a minute, you said this was a string, you can't turn it into a number. All right, so TypeScript is just like it is JavaScript, except when you define a function or something, you tell it what it is. So you would say X string. And so now you've said that this variable X is going to be a string, and so it'll take Dwayne. So down here, if you try to take that X and turn it into a number, when it transpiles, meaning goes from TypeScript to JavaScript, it'll do a little type check, hence TypeScript, and say, wait a minute, foul, throw a red flag. You cannot take a variable that you defined as X as a string and then turn it into a number. And that just helps with creating more bug-proof code. Because if you forget what you used X for, if you have poorly defined variable names like X, and you think X is a string up here, and now okay, I need X to store this, it's TypeScript will break, but normally you would not say X. And please, if you go into JavaScript, don't use X, use a function variable name that means something. So here, having a variable that says first name, it makes sense that it stores Dwayne. And as soon as you want to turn first name into 3.14, that should be an indicator that, hey, that doesn't make sense, but TypeScript takes care of that for you. But that should be, later on down the road after getting more familiar with JavaScript, you'll just naturally fall into TypeScript because more and more companies are using it, or more and more frameworks. I got the new Angular, it's written in TypeScript. Any questions? Let's see. No questions? So let's see. When you're learning JavaScript, you want to start out slow, small and easy. So, right here is a little bit of JavaScript that's just doing that hello world. We've already seen that like at the beginning of the class. Later on, you might get your JavaScript to get more sophisticated. Like here, we're going to say, ask a question. Well, let's just run it. All right. Ask a question. What is your name? Dwayne. Okay. Hello, Dwayne. So in just looking at that code, you break it up into pieces. Here's the button. Ask question clicked. So when you click it, it calls this function here, which brings up calls the ask question function, which is really a prompt, a built-in JavaScript function that displays that input box here. And give me another name. Let's say Mary. And then takes the result of that, returns it back to name, and we're using a document.getElementById greetings div, which is right here, the output for it, and changes that inner HTML, tells it to say hello, and then whatever name was entered. So here there's two functions. So here's where the program gets initiated on this ask question clicked. And this function calls this function, which asks the question right here. And returns the result of that back to here, stores it in this variable called name, and outputs it to the UI into this div, ID greetings div, right here. So this one and this, it goes to here because I have it defined here. And again, keep this in mind, it's case sensitive. So I hit save, ask question, and I say test, and I say okay. Nothing came up. What happened? Well, I got a capital V there and a lowercase v. Yep. And save it, run it now. And that's what I mean when I say that you could get quite frustrated. I mean, you would swear that you put everything in right, and nope, you being me, put in a capital letter when should have been a lowercase letter, and spend time trying to figure out what's going on. And in the end, yep, it's just a little bug. And sometimes you need a second set of eyes to come and a more experienced developer. That's another thing. The more times you do this, the more times you've fixed your own bugs, and some new developer says, hey, what's going on here? A lot of times just walking over there, you already know what's going on, and you can look right at the problem, slickety split and see what the problem is. And you can either tell them right off the bat, oh, that's because you did this, or you can say, well, look a little bit harder. Depending on what kind of person you are, what kind of mood you're in, let them know this is where the problem is. Let them sweat it out a little bit more, make them work for it, or tell them. Just depends. Questions? Let's see. Yeah. Nothing special required to write JavaScript. But like I said, this Visual Studio Code is free. There are other solutions out there as well, like I said, but it seems like I've been to several companies now, and they're all using Visual Studio Code for their front-end development. And what's great about Visual Studio Code is you're able to add functionality to it. And again, that adding functionality is free. You want to be able to, like I've been doing here, I've been running these pages, like clicking here, and I'll say open with live server, and that's an add-on available on the marketplace that treats creates a little web server for your JavaScript application to run on. Let's see. Let me go here. This is a little JavaScript app that, it gives my age in years, and after that, it's, the milliseconds. No questions? Thank you all. Yeah, good luck on your JavaScript ventures. Like I said, DoSpace has a great program, Hello Code, for learning your HTML and CSS, and then Hello Code 2 for getting into JavaScript. So best of luck.